My friend John and I had many a fine sandwiches, which we would then take later out of the restaurant to Galaxy World while we played video games.
Would you stuff those in your pocket?
We sure
Little
would.
Pocket sandwich. Then you go to all those joysticks that are just so covered with other disease.
We had them wrapped in paper, like
You
in,
had, like,
in
mayonnaise.
napkins. Mayonnaise. I didn't
Mayonnaise
use
all over.
mayonnaise on them. It was just like beef, cheese, and bread.
Yeah.
There's no condiments involved here.
No mustards?
No, man, that would drip
too
in your
bad.
pockets. Just
Yeah,
crumbs.
That's
Just
true.
crumbs.
That's true.
What
Sorry,
do you know
did
about
not think it
pocket
through.
sandwiches,
Yeah, you don't-
Adam?
Did not think it through.
You're not on the pocket sandwich
Anyhow.
game.
Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 39. I am Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite Bausch and Lomb, the VC boys. Say hello, Dave.
Hello, Mr. Lom. How are you?
Say hello, Adam.
Wait, so I'm Lom.
You're
Yes,
Lom.
you are Lom, because I was.
I'd be fine being either one of those people.
Yeah. Well, he said my name first, so I took the first name. It's simply all there is to it.
Bausch.
Yeah.
Bausch.
Bausch.
Bausch down.
Can you name a Bausch and Lomb product?
Yes, my AccuView
know,
2
but
contact lenses that I
Vaseline.
wear.
That's right. Yes. Contact lenses. So, this episode, we read chapters 13 through 18 of The Fires of Heaven and reacquainted ourselves with some old friends. We'll start our conversation in the normal way with our view from Dragonmount before discussing our favorite moments and what shook your willow. We'll discuss the use of prophecies in Oh Say Can You Prophecy before launching into our recurring segment In Dreams. We'll then discuss the direction this book is headed in with Director's Cut before wrapping up with our Coplin of the Week and Who Leveled Up. So let's strap on our jetpacks and launch to great heights for our view from Dragonmount.
Yay!
Beep, 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 beep. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Okay.
That was very involved. So we started with chapter 13, a small room in Sienda with our little elephant glyph there. So this is a totally new glyph here.
Yeah.
Elaine is becoming...
But we know what it is, though.
Well, now we do, yes. Yeah. But we didn't, when we first read this chapter, all we knew is that Elaine was becoming suspicious of the message they were given by Mistress Makura.
We've encountered these people before? Wouldn't we? Did it not use that glyph before?
We've never encountered the menagerie before. Nope. This is the first time we encountered
okay.
in the first chapter. So they're stopped on their way by Valen Luca and his little traveling menagerie, or his large traveling menagerie, and they're asked to stop, but proceed to Sienda after Nynaeve gives Valen Luca a silver penny.
Which he then proceeds to chuck back.
Which, right, they don't know until later, a couple chapters later, Tom mentions he threw a rock at them, and it turns out it was the penny that Nynaeve tipped him with. After Egwene specifically told her to tip him, that's what she decided to do.
Yeah, that's what she comes up with. It's typical Nynaeve.
It is typical Nynaeve. So Elaine and Nynaeve then settle into their rooms in the light of truth. So Val and Luca described the fact that they've been kicked out of Sienda because they had a little bit of trouble. Nynaeve and Egwene arrive there, and it turns out that one of the boar horses knocked a huge hole in the front door of the
In that
King's
place?
Lancer.
Yeah,
You're just sitting around,
chugging your
buddies.
ale.
Right.
Next thing you know, his snout comes
It's not
into
a
the wall.
car. It's an elephant.
Nothing you've
comes
ever
crashing.
seen before in your life, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
It would look like a giant monster has just appeared.
Your nightmares have come to life while you're in the middle of your breakfast.
First of all,
I hope someone was breaking up with someone else.
the wall just explodes, which would be weird enough.
Right.
The wall explodes inwards, and then there's this thing that
Maybe
you're
a
like,
husk.
yeah, tusks and
Well,
trunk and
worse off, it could
That's
just
the
be
word I
the
was-
butt
that's
of
the
the,
word I was trying to
of the
say,
elephant.
tusk.
You said husk.
it's off by a T.
Yes.
Maybe they were drinking tea.
Yes, maybe.
Because
So-
as we had the conversations before, it's tea, not cough.
Correct.
Yes, I'm on pause for the tea conversation.
Yes.
You're in timeout. So Elaine and Nynaeve settle into their rooms in the light of truth. Nynaeve takes the dreaming ring. Elaine tells Nynaeve to tell Egwene to tell Rand that she loves him. So now we're passing notes in class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not one of those foldy paper things where you have to like move,
what are
move it
those
around
called?
4 times. That weird origami thing is like,
God's eye.
does
3D.
Jimmy like you? Yes or no? Right. It's the origami version of the Seeing 8-Ball.
I like that.
Tink, tink,
That
tink,
was
tink,
fun.
tink.
Is that what it's called? The Seeing 8-Ball? It's called the Magic 8-Ball. That's what it is.
Not the Seeing 8-Ball.
And it,
That would be horrifying.
it can see into the
I
future.
see everything.
Right, yeah.
So Nynaeve is going by Nana, which is one of my favorite Emile Zola books. So just wanna let
You just
everyone
wanted
know
to get
that.
you just wanted to get a solo book reference in there, really up your
Well,
cred with
And
the
then
literate
also you
crowd.
missed out on one of the best lines was he was good looking with a well turned leg.
Oh, Val and Luca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
That means he's got a fancy calf.
And
I hope his leg is backwards.
so then that leads us into chapter 14, meetings. Nynaeve awaits the arrival of Egwene and the Wise Ones and decides to call on her good friend Birgitta.
Birgitta.
Yes.
And they discuss the Forsaken and what Birgitta's seen there in Teleron Riode.
She hasn't seen Gedel Kane for some time.
She has not. She's
Nadel's
also
gone.
not seen Moghedien. So
Yeah.
Nynaeve figures, hey, I'll put this woman on a hunt for a Forsaken. What could happen?
Right.
It's a little bit of a selfish move.
It'll
Yeah,
be
no.
fine. They'll be fine.
Right.
She's gonna.
This is
binge
one
her-
of the
drink
great
herself to
people
death.
of
She'll
all
be fine.
time, and Nynaeve is just sending her off to
Yeah.
do her bidding.
So Birgitta leaves and Egwene and Mullane appear shortly after that, and they discuss the Forsaken, Rand and Moiraine and Nynaeve's traveling in the dream world. What? That doesn't make any sense, does it? I just rattled off a sentence. I don't even know what it meant.
Well,
Why
you
is
know,
that
this
even
is
written down?
They discuss the Forsaken, Rand and Moiraine, and Nynaeve's traveling in the dream world. Oh yeah, they do. They discuss all those things. And then Mullane asks
Yeah, they
Nynaeve,
talk about how big Rand's head has gotten.
then Mullane asks Nynaeve to promise that she'll not go poking around the dream world without asking the Wise Ones before she goes and decides to do something. And Nynaeve says no,
Yeah, she flat out says, "I'm not going to do it."
which good for her.
Right.
Yeah,
Better-
at least
better-
she says no.
Better than Egwene and just make false promises that you know you're going to break later, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So off Nynaeve goes into chapter 15, what can be learned in dreams, with the old Flame of Tarvalon glyph. So clearly we're staying in the dreams here. Egwene travels to the tower, right? Nynaeve travels to the tower.
She tries to get into the Amerlin Seat's office, but she can't.
Right.
She can't for some strange reason that we know.
Yeah. Well, and she realizes. So instead she goes to her old dorm.
She goes into the Mistress of Novices.
Oh,
Yes, goes to Mistress
right.
of Novices.
Yes.
Tyrion.
Egwene goes to her old dorm.
And she's lucky she recognizes the Mistress of Novices quarters because those have also, that Sheriam is no longer the Mistress of Novices.
But I guess maybe she didn't change the
Right. Something.
appearance of stuff.
Yeah. The new
Who-
Mistress
whoever
of
that may
Novices.
Maybe
be.
there is no one there. That'd be
Who
weird if there
knows?
were no one there.
Maybe Elida's taken that
No,
responsibility on herself also.
We know there is a
I don't
Mistress
have
of
a note.
Novices. So Egwene and Nynaeve have a little tiff in the Amerlin's chamber. They notice how different the chamber
well-
is now.
The tip
Hold
comes
on.
after the
Nynaeve was spotted by the Amerlin. and she just
while they were walking, while she was walking. Yeah,
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 she's
while she was walking, and she just assumes that it's
there's no
or-
way that she can be the Amerlin. Right.
yeah. She just assumes that she
She's
just
dreaming
came there
that
on
she's
her
the
own. Yeah,
Amerlin.
well,
right.
Nynaeve's got
that's such a great. It makes total sense.
yeah. Why would you think that?
So Egwene and Nynaeve agree to try to rifle through the Amerlin's chambers, which they think is
Well,
Swan.
Egwene walks in. Egwene walks in, and Nynaeve is dressed up as Mullane.
Yeah, that did not go over well.
It's fantastic.
So there's a bit of
That would be-
confusion.
It's just really funny because I don't think Egwene would really like seeing Mullane really there.
Well, no, that's why she's so thrown off. So then the only way
Yeah.
that she can cover her lie is to put Nynaeve on the defensive by just attacking her.
Yeah.
And it works. She
Oh, it does.
succeeds. And Nynaeve is left reeling, but not until well after Nynaeve goes through Elida's things and Egwene goes through Alviarin's stuff.
Pretty cool when Nynaeve is going through the Amerlin's desk, all the little games and whatnot that's going on with the papers.
So we learned that the general marshal of Saldea has now totally disappeared. Davram Bashir is now just completely gone.
Poof.
He was heading south the last time we heard of him, and that was discouraging. And now he's gone totally. So who knows what havoc he's off wreaking? Clearly not enough to get noticed, I guess. It seems that Pedron Niall has succeeded in his little plot to get Ilian and Murindi to agree in exchanging some land so that they won't go to war with Ilian.
When was the last time we heard about that?
The prologue. There is a suspicion of a gathering of blues. So it sounds like Elida is on to the fact that there's blues gathering somewhere.
I would gather with those blues.
Egwene discovers a document revealing Elida as the Amerlin, but only immediately after Nynaeve sees the name of the city where the blues are located, which we know is Saladays.
Saladar. Salad days?
The salad days.
Yeah, those
Saladar.
that oft used expression, salad days.
I call it the ribeye days.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Ponderosa Steakhouse.
I'll take a ribeye.
Was Ponderosa offering up ribeye?
Oh, it
Yeah.
did.
Oh, yeah, they were.
It did.
Oh.
So Egwene discovers a document, and the two women realize that Elida is the Amerlin seat. Egwene,
That's like the worst moment for her to find that out. You know, Nynaeve staring at that all important piece of paper with the blues location, and Nynaeve.
well, but Nynaeve would have no idea what she was looking at, though, because she thinks that Swan
No, she wouldn't. But
is
then
the
one and
Amerlin.
one,
Right.
you know.
Right, exactly. So Egwene gives Nynaeve a lecture on her temper and then leaves.
It was a nice moment, though. I like that moment.
Yeah, I mean, but Nynaeve admitted to Egwene that she lied,
Yeah, she didn't. She was back into a corner.
She did.
which is a big deal
It is
because,
is.
you know, Egwene is lying.
right. Yeah.
Right. Egwene wakes and heads to Rand's tent, finding him engaged with Natael. She then heads to Moiraine, and then she goes back to dreaming and has a dream that the closer that Aram gets to Perrin, the more danger there is. She dreams that Tom Maryland pulls Moiraine's sapphire out of a fire.
Is that her tuchus?
Right. Is that a euphemism? No.
I'm
that
really-
Moiraine
I'm really
has that
sad.
sapphire.
To think about what this means.
I don't want to think about it.
Egwene tells Moiraine about Swan, and Moiraine explains her allegiance to the tower and the fact that despite anything that's going on, Moiraine is sworn to the tower. There's been this growing idea of keeping the tower whole, which all of these Aes Sedai seem to have. They all just believe about going about it very different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moiraine really took that pretty coolly. She's got no time for tears.
And then Egwene tells Moiraine about Lanfear.
Yeah.
From what Nynaeve learned from Birgitte, we know that there are Forsaken that are traveling around in pairs.
It's not unlike the gorillas in the mist. These are the Forsaken in the mist.
Except we know exactly what's going on with them. We can read their minds. So that is chapter 15. Chapter 16, An Unexpected Offer, which is the old sunburst. So we get some white cloakage here.
Yeah.
So the women eat breakfast in the common room, and Galad appears.
Yeah. It's
Hey,
like
I'm here. I'm handsome.
It's like your worst nightmare.
And he's been promoted by Emin Valda, who we last saw flirting with Galad in a bar and handing him a book on the manifest for the Children of the Light. Galad tells them that Swan has been stilled and executed, which we knew.
Except for the whole executed part.
Yeah, except for that.
That's a bit...
Slightly important. That'll derail you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then offers to take Elaine home. They then hightail it out of there.
It wasn't so much of an offer as
Elaine is like,
it's going to happen.
I'll talk to you about that later. Let me think about it for a little bit.
I have to go powder my nose.
Right. So then they go back up to their rooms. Tom notes that Niall is laying claims to some border villages in Altara. He's trying to snap up cities on the other side of Altara with the hopes of essentially strangling out Ibu Dar, which is the capital city of Altara, which then would allow the White Cloaks to sort of take over Altara. This is Niall.
It's making his play.
He is, because he's already trying to make people, to raise up a contingency against Rand. And now he's slowly trying to take over the west side of Westland here.
And in the meanwhile, the prophets are loose doing some weird stuff somewhere too. So there's like factions moving.
Right. That's a destabilizing element that's over there in Terabon and Gildan. So there's a lot going on in his midst. But yeah, for a guy who's doing a whole lot, we are only learning about him in small conversations. There's no narrative about him whatsoever. which I think is really funny.
Yeah, we spend no time with him. Nynaeve is like, oh, maybe I should pay a little more attention to Tom. He might be useful after all.
Right. So
after all this information comes out.
That's because Elaine finally reveals to her that he used to be a bard. Elaine decides that they need to flee Galad and the White Cloaks. Nynaeve decides that they're going to do that by patronizing Val and Luca.
Yeah, being the patrons.
So they send
I
Tom.
love a good patron.
No, he likes a good patron.
Well, yeah, sure. I would like to be a patron.
Yeah,
Why not?
They send Tom and Julian off, and they walk their way out through the back alleys toward Val and Luca and his traveling menagerie. Elaine suggests they head toward Gildan once they reach there. So instead of heading east away from the White Cloaks and Amadisha, they're going to head sort of north, which is out of their way because they were wanting to go to Tar-Valon, right?
Yeah.
That was their thought. So they're sort of heading out
Well,
of
they
their
don't
way.
want to anymore, for sure.
Right, now they don't want to. Now they're thinking of going to Tyr because that's where they think Rand is.
They want to go to Tyr, but I'm not sure why they want to go.
Right.
Go to
They know
Tyr.
Rand's not there. They're in communication with the Wise One, so they know he's in the Waste. And then we get confirmation that Elaine actually remembers her conversation with Tom from her one enchanted evening of alcoholism.
One drunken evening.
Indeed. So that takes us to chapter 17, heading west. So Tom says that he's learned that Pedron Niall is trying to unite the nations against Rand. It seems Niall's plan to unleash that old wolf in the henhouse. Like, remember, his original goal was to let Rand run crazy, and his original goal was to let Rand run crazy, and then to eventually unite all of the nations behind him. He's sort of moving forward with that. Elaine promises to pay Val and Luca's expenses plus 100 pieces of gold.
That would be very heavy to carry around.
100 pieces of gold for the trip to Gildan. And they do, in fact, join the menagerie. So there they are. They're in a traveling circus.
Wait, are we going to talk
Leandrin.
about Eludra at some point?
We can talk about her here.
And her fake name.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was...
there's two things that are going on. So
Right.
first of all, Nynaeve recognizes the accent of the woman who is in control of the boar horses.
It's just some random
Yeah.
Shan-Chan woman.
Just some random Shan-Chan. I went looking through all the books thinking that this is somebody we'd run into
Right.
before.
No.
It's not. So we run into a Shan-Chan who is in charge of, we learn that those boar horses, the /elephants, are actually called Sredit.
What name were you going back and looking for?
the Shan-Chan woman's name.
Sarandon.
How do you pronounce it?
It's Sarandon.
They do mention Eludra in that chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever so briefly.
Right.
Why?
Because she's there.
Yeah, she's the fireworks
She's
person
part of
as
the traveling menagerie.
Yeah.
But that's all you hear. There's no
Yeah,
interaction
okay.
with her yet. And even if there was, these girls wouldn't know who she was.
Okay, yeah, so Eludra is there.
Eludra is there.
Now the question is,
Okay.
would Tom know who she was?
No. he
Well,
wouldn't.
she was in Carian.
Yeah.
So was Tom,
Right. But
killing the king.
remember,
Same time.
those people just never left that chapter house. They were
I'm
really
I'm just
secretive.
curious if Tom would, because Tom knows everything. So
Sure, yeah.
maybe he knew who headed that chapter house. That was her. I
The
don't know.
last time we saw her was between Matt and Rand when they ran into her soaking wet in that bar and they killed Tammuz.
Moose, yeah,
Or
or knocked him out.
They
or
knocked
something,
him out. Yeah. So she's the other person.
Another
we've run
funny
into.
thing is that now Nynaeve is actually going to pay attention when she hears this accent, or Elaine,
Well, they
the Shan-Chan accent, because they didn't before.
Right. There was some of the interaction before they had with Egyanin. She was talking differently, but they didn't pick up
Oh,
on it at first.
right.
Maybe she wasn't as
Well, they hadn't been as exposed to it as before. Now, after the Egyanin experience, they're more sensitive to it.
She
Absolutely.
learned.
Yeah. Chapter 18, A Hound of Darkness. So Alviarin is unaware of Nynaeve and Elaine's presence in Tanchico. Leandrin is told she has a guest. Leandrin is introduced to Moghedien.
she's not the brightest one, that Leandra.
Leandrin, well, she's just
She's
really
like, I'm
ambitious.
gonna try my little trick against the Forsaken.
Yeah,
It works on normal people. I'm sure it'll work here.
right.
No,
Didn't work very well.
not in this.
Leandrin learns that Moghedien was their servant Gildan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's-
we also
Gildan,
learned that.
what are you doing here?
Right. Moghedien cows Leandrin after Leandrin tries to use her
Romeo!
pseudo-compulsion maneuver.
Romeo.
The Black Aja receive orders from Moghedien. Moghedien knows Nynaeve and Elaine were in Sienda. So how does that happen?
Well, they left there so quickly
Well, they left quickly because
of Galad.
Galad
but
was sitting outside the inn.
I can almost guarantee one of those housekeepers probably was in league with Moghedien.
Or, I mean, she's also skulking around in the dream world, too.
You would think, though, if she saw one of those two in the dreams, she would have done something.
She's the spider. She doesn't do something until she's absolutely sure she can win.
She is, but I don't know, what better time than when Gawain had Nynaeve like all terrified of being attacked by.
Well, my guess is it probably wasn't there. Aren't they originally meeting in the Stone of Tyr beforehand? Isn't that where?
Well, that's where she met with the wise ones.
And wasn't Sylvie the old lady? And we've hypothesized
we don't know
before-
who Sylvie is.
Right, we don't know who Sylvie
Hey,
is.
you remember her name though?
I do. I remember her
Yes.
name now.
There
That's
it
right.
is.
I
Oh,
only forgot
great
it that
relief.
one time. It was really
was
annoying
twice.
that I couldn't recall it.
3 times.
So I think she's skulking around in the Stone of Tyr.
She might be. I think she skulks around a lot of places. She's a skulker.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then Moghedien sends 5 of the Black Aja after Nynaeve and Elaine. So they're back chasing Nynaeve and Elaine again.
Yeah. After
Oh,
they bungled
boy.
it the first time.
Kind of crazy. They were once the ones being hunted, and now they're hunting again.
Hunter, huntress, hunter.
Well, now they're totally being hunted. Which brings us to what shook your willow, Adam?
Oh, what shook my willow is that a ways back I said that Galad seems like he's a white cloak, and now we know Galad is a white cloak.
Yeah, we were thinking because he was chumming it up with them and drinking / not drinking in the bars.
Yeah.
It was even before that, but yeah.
Well, right, but once we saw him, we suspected he was leaning that way, and then we saw him in that bar with Eamon Valda, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, and then Tom says, I suppose it shouldn't be a surprise he ended up a white cloak.
Right.
Tom knew it from a very early age, too.
Right. And the funny thing is, Elaine even hints that he shouldn't be surprised by this move. They all
Yeah.
know. Except for the crazy thing that he grew up in Andor, which is totally anti-Children of the Light. So,
Yeah, it's
right.
really interesting because Elaine, anytime this guy's been mentioned, she's been somewhat annoying about how much she doesn't like him.
Oh,
She
no.
doesn't
And
like
then-
him at all.
Well, and she insists
Yeah.
every time people want to call her his brother,
Yeah.
call her,
Right.
Call
his
her
brother.
his sister,
His-
or
Yes,
vice versa.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
I understand why she's
She-
upset why people are calling her his
Right.
brother.
She insists that no, he's not.
He's not my brother. Same dad.
Hashtag not my brother. What shook my willow this week is the fact that Leandrin thinks that Elida thinks that she is in control of the tower. What does that mean to you guys?
Well, to me, it means that Leandrin thinks that the blacks are in charge of the tower.
Yeah, and why would she think that?
Could be 2 things. One is that Elida's a black.
Well, then she wouldn't think
You're
that.
really pushing
she
for
wouldn't.
that one.
She wouldn't think that. She
No,
would
I
know
don't-
that.
No, not necessarily, because once again, we don't. There's cells, and the cells don't know everything.
All right, give me the other reason.
Alviarin's a black.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
wouldn't get that specific. I would think it's somebody in that circle of Elida.
I'm just thinking there's 2 people that are running, and we've seen examples of Alviarin taking control of things.
Yeah, that's an argument that can be made. But the conclusion that I reached from that is I think we can say with a high degree of certainty that somebody in Elida's inner circle there is a Black Aja. I don't think it's Elida.
I want it to be. I don't think it is.
Oh, you want it to be. You're
But
trying.
instead, what we've just got is just a horrible, horrible person
That's-
who's not
that's
who's
inarguable.
not black.
Right.
She's like, if the black is ebony, she's like charcoal. She's like as close as you can
Charcoal
get to
gray.
it, but you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
not
She's
quite black.
She's just a rotten
Well,
human being.
speaking of gray, what are gray Aja?
They are the mediators.
What does that mean?
They
They
settle
are
wars and
highly skilled
differences and negotiations. It's what we do,
The-
Jerry. Negotiations.
Yeah, they're highly skilled in political mediation. Dave, what shook your willow this week?
So Elaine's in a tightrope walker. She's obviously got to use the power to do that, which is really cool. But have they not learned? And apparently, the answer is no. That when they just like randomly use the power, people sometimes pick up on that. Kind
Such
of
a
like-
bad idea.
In Tanchico or Falma, when they were using the power and they got discovered using the power, and it triggered people to know.
It's not just any people; it's people who can channel.
Well, right.
Right.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Normal, the layperson's not going to go, but the
Right.
people that are now searching for them They're
Fair
going to be
enough.
wandering around using the power. Look at me. I'm tightrope walking, somersaulting. Kablam, chicko.
Now the amount of power that they use matters when it comes to
It does,
how
but
far
to a trained
away.
ear and or eye
Well,
and or...
if somebody can see them, they can tell right away. So
Right.
anybody in eyesight would be able to tell. But Aes Sedai are outlawed in this area, so there shouldn't be any Aes Sedai
Except they're
in
traveling now
Amadisha.
to somewhere else.
To Gildan, and once they get to Gildan, they should be safe. Ostensibly, they're going to leave him at that point.
I'm just saying it doesn't seem like a very wise idea.
I think it's
Totally
hilarious,
agree
though.
with Dave. Totally
Okay.
agree with Dave.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think obviously someone's going to see her channeling.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I just don't think it's a wise idea.
Yeah.
But then again, they had to sing for their supper, so to speak, so she
Yeah,
had
in
to
the
do something.
I love the moment. She's just like, "Oh, there's a guy up there. Where's your tightrope walker? He died this morning."
Right.
Oh,
I
well
can
then
do
I'll
it.
do that.
But, and the best is
It
he's
is
like,
pretty awesome.
and
And not
you're-
only me, but this guy's going to do it
Julian,
too.
yeah, poor Julian's roped into it. And he's like, he's so convincing with how scared he is. Well, yeah, because he's that scared.
Poor Julian. First of all, he can't see the weaves of air. She can see them. She
Right.
knows what's going on. He can't see them. He's
Not only
just-
that, he's got the power channeling around him, which is, I'm sure, freaky to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, he might be used to that being around these women by now, but that's the least of his concerns. The greater of his concerns is how high up they are, and she wants him to be a tightrope walker, and she has him do a somersault, right?
Right, yep.
So he has to, the poor guy. He's lucky he doesn't
yeah.
have a heart attack.
He's seen worse. I like that Nynaeve is just like, nah, I'm in charge of the books.
Right, yeah, I'm in charge of the
I
money.
dole out the coin.
Right, yeah. Nobody likes
Luca?
Luca, yeah.
I love the basketball player. Don't like this guy so much so far.
How about
I-
Luca Brazzi?
You
I don't
got
know.
well, he's with
Luca
the fishes,
Brasi.
so you don't find out.
I don't have enough reason to not like him, honestly. He was given one penny from Nynaeve, so
Right, he does.
Now he is creepy.
He is creepy.
He keeps trying to get
Elaine,
Elaine like
yes.
into his tent with him.
Right.
Don't worry though, it won't be like that. Wink,
Right.
wink.
Yeah, he's a creepy dude.
yeah.
Anywhere's- anywhere's a cape.
He's
You're
got a
really
cape.
you're really hell bent on this cape.
Well. You should be because I mean, Costanza's dad wore
Right.
one.
I don't like cape people. I'm anti-cape.
I'm pro cape
I'm
That's okay.
anti-Superman.
Tom wears a bit of a cape.
a bit.
No, it's not a cape.
It's a cloak, I
A
guess.
cloak,
It's not a
but
cape.
nonetheless.
There's a big difference. A cloak is more encompassing.
Aren't they all wearing hooded capes when they leave?
Well,
for this journey
Yeah,
originally.
they have hoods, yeah, but that's not a cape then if it has a hood. That's a cloak.
Or a cowl.
What is the difference between
A cape doesn't
Okay.
have a hood.
A cloak has
the
a
cape
cowl.
doesn't have a hood?
Yeah. And it's short. It,
Yeah,
it
that's-
doesn't wrap around as much.
That's stupid.
I want to see him doing
See?
his.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I'm
want to
pro-
see him doing his
I'm
flourishing
pro-
bows.
You're anti-cape also.
I'm anti-cape now because
I'm
what
pro
you
cape.
need a hood if you're going around and traveling.
Hey man, Shazam and Superman don't have hoods, and they're awesome with their capes.
Well, I don't think Superman is awesome. You got me on Shazam a little bit. Okay.
I don't
That's
know
just
what
'cause it rhymes with
Shazam
kablam.
even does.
So
He does everything.
he Shazamies.
No,
he's
he
like
does?
he's like Superman.
He's like a chamois, except he's a super chamois.
Where's he from?
Shazam, Captain Marvel.
You
He's
mean
from
he's
Earth.
from
and
Captain Marvel.
Shazam is Captain Marvel
Shazam!
in the DC universe. Yes,
Oh, okay. Then
Shazampico.
but it's pronounced Marvel. But anyhow, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about prophecies here. Nynaeve and Mistress Jara have an interesting conversation where Mistress Jara tells Nynaeve that she hopes that the Horn of Valir will never be found, and then that way Tarmangaiden will never occur. So we get a lot of prophecies in this book, and Rand is trying to fulfill a lot of them.
Square peg in a round hole.
He's working really, really hard to make a lot of these prophecies happen. So my question is, how important are these prophecies to future events? Do the prophecies allow future events to occur, or are they signposts for people along the way that a future event is occurring?
This is like a chicken and an egg thing. I think the ultimate answer is we don't know. Can the future events happen without the prophecy being fulfilled?
I would say
wouldn't-
yes.
I wouldn't think so. I don't think they can happen without the prophecy being fulfilled. Otherwise, prophecy is pointless.
It does serve a purpose. My feeling on this matter is that this Armageddon is going to occur regardless of whether or not these prophecies get fulfilled. However, what the prophecies do is they create some sort of, not 100%, but some sort of consortium amongst the common people that something is going on, that something is occurring, and that we are headed towards some sort of event. So by fulfilling these prophecies, Rand is able to gather people around him who believe in them and know about them, whereas without them, he would have had a much harder time getting people behind him. Without prophecy, he might never have gotten the Aiel, right?
Without one prophecy being fulfilled, just one, it invalidates every single prophecy. Every single one.
So give me an example of that.
Well, we can't because they've all been fulfilled that we know of. If it doesn't have to be fulfilled, then none of it actually matters. And if none of it actually matters...
That's a huge leap.
No,
that's
it isn't a leap because you said the end's going to happen.
Right.
If the end's going to happen, prophecy doesn't matter in terms of being fulfilled. And
no, that's not true, because there is a subtlety there, which is having people believe in you is really, really important if you're going to be the savior.
That's not what prophecy is.
That's the disagreement that we're having.
But that's the definition of what prophecy is. That's what a prophecy is.
That's what you believe prophecy is.
No, that's the literal definition of the word.
No, it's
a foretelling of a future event that's going to happen.
It's a prediction.
Right. And in this world, from everything we have been given thus far...
So you agree with this woman then? If the Horn of Valir is never found, then Tarmon Gai'dan doesn't occur.
I think the end can happen if the Horn of Valir is not found. But what's then going to happen is the good is not going to win.
Okay, that's different than what she says, but
because I think she's got it wrong.
It's still along the same lines. There is a difference there. Remember, some of these prophecies are tied just to Tarmon Gai'dan occurring at all, and that's the thing that I ultimately disagree with. Is the seals are breaking. Tarmon Gai'dan is going to occur. The Dark One is going to break free of his prison, regardless of whether or not Rand fulfills any of his prophecies. Regardless of any of these things happen.
Dave, how do you feel about dark prophecy then?
My problem with the dark prophecy is it's from people who are convinced of something that might not necessarily be correct. We're going to get into right and wrong here, and it's going to turn into a morality thing, which in this world is kind of vague because we don't know enough about the actual quote-unquote good creator who is absent. My point is, from a dark prophecy standpoint, they believe a lie. So the prophetic powers are based on a lie. So it could fail and it won't matter. Whereas any one of the ones that are not based on a lie, if we're going by this line of logic, the good side, the side following the light, if one of those prophecies fail, it'll all fail.
I'm on the side that I don't think that every prophecy that there is for the quote-unquote dragon needs to be fulfilled the way that it's going to come across. Because even the way that the dream world exists, and with the wise one and with the wise ones and their prediction of future events, what's going to take place, they know that there's stuff that they're leaving that they're not going to be completely correct about.
I think from everything we've seen with every bit of prophecy from every people has been fulfilled.
Yeah, pretty sure
every single piece to this point has been fulfilled.
Yeah, but the wise one specifically said that they didn't know that Matt was going to come around.
Matt's not part of the
all this other
there's
stuff.
a difference between not having prophecies for things and prophecies not being fulfilled. What you're talking about is not foreseeing everything. You're not talking about prophecies not being fulfilled. You're just talking about, hey, they didn't foresee every eventuality.
Well,
but I think every prophecy that we've encountered that people have talked about.
Yes, everything that we have heard about to this point has been.
They have been, and in fact, I mean, we're seeing multiple different societies' prophecies also become intertwined.
Right.
Even the Dark One prophecies.
Yes, even the dark prophecies that we have referenced still have time to come to fruition. We haven't seen any prophecies about victory from either side. All we've seen is prophecies about what will lead up to the final event.
I don't think I was right in what I was saying that maybe that they don't all. I think probably the way that this book is being set up to this point, that it would seem like we have to take these prophecies as they're gonna happen.
Well, but the other thing too is remember that you have people who have vested interest in seeing these prophecies fulfilled because of what they mean to those who know them. And that's the thing that nobody can get away from.
Well, Rand was specifically reading something.
Well, Rand is trying to figure out all these prophecies.
No, I know this. So Rand was reading specifically some prophecies when he was with Natale, and he was laughing to himself. And he's like, hey, Natale, check out what's on page 192 and page 110. So maybe he's laughing at some prophecy that he already knows. Well, whatever. We don't have the evidence of it.
It is a chicken and the egg conversation. But the reason it is because the people who can fulfill these prophecies have a vested interest in doing so. And that vested interest is the eyeballs that they draw to themselves and their cause by fulfilling the prophecy. And so because you can't get away from that, and because I still think that the apocalypse that this world is heading toward is going to occur regardless of whether or not these prophecies are fulfilled, and the fact that a lot of these prophecies are supposedly signs that the apocalypse is coming, my conclusion is the apocalypse is still going to occur whether or not these prophecies happen. However, if you're Rand, you don't want to leave any of them by the wayside, because you sort of have this checklist in front of you that some people are running through their heads. Not everybody, perhaps, but if you miss a checkbox for somebody, then that's one other person that you don't have standing behind you when the time comes for you to need to unite the world. So
he definitely is doing that. He definitely needs to do that.
So it's really hard for any of us to ever be able to say conclusively that the end times wouldn't occur without this. But what we do know is if Rand doesn't fulfill these prophecies, he might not get elected president, so to speak. He might not be chosen, or he might not be the unanimous or the majority's choice for their savior when the end times come, because we also know that there are a lot of people fighting for this recognition. We got Pedro Niall, who wants to be the people's savior, even though he doesn't believe Tarmangaiden is occurring. So it's hard to get away from the idea that there's a pragmatic reason for all of this in addition to a supernatural reason.
I mean, absolutely, that makes sense. I feel like Swan and Moraine were doing the same thing with having a checklist of even trying to find him.
Yeah, they have a very pragmatic approach to this. And at the same time, Moraine's concern was always, hey, let's not rush this stuff either. You're moving really, really fast here.
Because Moraine seems to be, she says now that she remembered how to control Saidar.
Right.
And that she has to surrender to it. So is she really giving up all that much? Or is she just understanding...
Well, she's still looking for control.
She still feels like she's in control of him.
She's not in control. She's looking for control and
some level of it.
Right, and this is the way that she's recognized to be able to do that with Rand.
She knows her target. I mean, over time she's discovered that you can't control Rand. The way to control Rand is to step back and give him advice that's going to try to help steer him in the right direction from what she thinks the right direction is, but you can't beat him over the head with it. You can't say you need to do this, because that's never going to work with Rand.
Let's talk about dreams. In dreams.
No, we actually did pay for those.
So Birgitte has not seen Gaidal Cain in a while and thinks he's been reborn because of that. So we learned that in the dream. So
that can't be good for anybody involved.
It's important. Gaidal needs to be spun out back into the pattern.
He's a good guy.
No, he does, but he's going to be a baby.
Okay, yeah. So from our time frame, I'm figuring he's not going to be there to fight in the last battle because...
Probably not.
There's no time.
Yeah, that's weird. So you're right, Adam. That's not good because he won't be one of the heroes of the Horn.
Well, not only that...
Provided the Horn gets blown again.
Right.
Now Birgitte is maybe going to just disappear.
Typically, it's a couple of years afterwards, but she said she's been born very shortly after him before. But the odds are she won't be. So she has seen Ravine, Samael, Greyandal, Demandred, and Semirhage, and Lanfear in the dream world.
It's a lot of Forsaken running around that place.
They are just going willy-nilly.
They seem to be walking around in pairs. It seems that Ravine and Samael are together, Greyandal and Lanfear are together, and Demandred and Semirhage are together. So
we've had no interactions with Demandred. We've had no interactions with Demandred and Semirhage up to this point. Those two are elusive.
They're stalking each other, trying to figure out what each other are doing. So this is just further proof that none of them trust each other, right?
No.
Which is going to be a big problem for them.
I'm sure even in those pairings, they don't trust each other.
Right. But they clearly trust each other more than they trust the people they're following. Moghedien has not been seen by Birgitte, so she's the one who is not been found in the dream world. But she knows somehow what's going on with Nynaeve and Elaine. Birgitte insists that Nynaeve and Elaine keep their relationship and information secret. She doesn't want Nynaeve blabbing about her relationship with Birgitte. This is like some new superpower that Nynaeve has discovered. She now has a superhero friend in the world of dreams.
So does,
Yeah,
so
that's
does,
just
so
going to
does
be her eyes and
Elaine.
ears.
And so she's decided to take this super friend that she has and sick her on one of the most dangerous Forsaken. Is that what you would do to a friend?
No, it's
Hey.
not what I would do.
Hey, I'm worried about this pit bull in my neighborhood. Can you kind of go and find it and, wrestle it? Thanks, friend.
I love pit bulls.
You like pit bull wrestling?
No.
Okay. Then I'm not inviting you to wrestle pit bulls for me.
No more
Yeah,
wrestling.
no, it's just especially because now that she doesn't have Guidel there to help her out, it seems a bit dangerous.
We get some more evidence that Nynaeve's developing an alignment with the tower despite her annoyance with Moiraine and the tower, as Melaine is baiting Nynaeve with her symbol of the serpent ring being the perfect symbol for Aes Sedai because it's eating itself. She finds herself getting ticked off and gripping and tugging at her braid. She's becoming more and more Aes Sedai as time goes by. There's no do any of us doubt that she's going to lose this little thing that she has for Moiraine in time, or at least it's going to become almost unimportant.
The
It
question
doesn't
is,
seem like it's been a focus of hers for right now.
yes, but the
And,
question is, with this impending dread that we've got with Moiraine, will it be too
Right.
late?
yeah, she was worried about Moiraine being killed by someone else
Before she can kill her.
before she can get her justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that's likely to happen.
It seems like it probably. Who knows? She's very stubborn,
So
those folk.
she's becoming more distant from her vengeance for Moiraine. She's also distancing herself from Rand. She realizes she's found herself more concentrated with controlling Rand and being concerned about maintaining his sanity until Tarmangaiden than she is about her general concern for this welfare of this guy that she, from the town that she used to be the wisdom of. So that's kind of sad. All of these friends from Emond's Field, moved out into the world and they're slowly growing apart. It's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
life
yeah,
after college.
Yeah.
Without Facebook.
Right. It's kicking and screaming. And then I think we get the first real description of Nynaeve's block here. Her teachers in the tower had said that was why she needed to be angry in order to channel. She'd hidden her ability from herself, afraid of it, and only fury could break through that long buried fear. Which we've had conversations about and talked about.
Right.
But this is the first time where I feel like it's expressed.
Yeah. So how many books until she can overcome that?
At the rate we're going,
It doesn't seem like she's trying even.
several.
Yeah. I don't think she cares. I mean, she cares to be able to channel, but she's not even focused on that just yet.
I think she should be.
It's going to take some great circumstance for that to happen.
We have a lot of the wise ones' concerns for women traveling in Tel'aran'rhiod unschooled, right? They corralled Egwene and brought her, and now they're concerned about Nynaeve and what she's doing. Are the wise ones really concerned for these women's welfare, or are they simply just trying to maintain their control over Tel'aran'rhiod? Do we think that they're really this altruistic?
Towards Egwene, certainly.
Well, now that they have her under their wing and they have her under their control, yeah.
I mean, are we saying they consider it their fiefdom? I mean,
Yeah, I feel that
if that's
way.
the case, they're terrible because there's Forsaken running rampant.
Yeah, they're not
Well,
worried
no,
about
I
those
mean, I would
people.
say it's the same as the tower trying to control
Yeah,
their people
I agree.
because they're trying to teach them. It's funny because Egwene does the same thing that was done to her when she sicks those demons on Nynaeve. They're trying to teach
Right.
them that there are these scary elements of it that you really do need to take seriously because you can die. And both of them are just traipsing around like it's no big deal.
I think
Both Nynaeve and
yes,
Egwene.
they are being a bit territorial, but at the same time, it is for a reason, like Adam said. I mean, there
Definitely.
are inherent dangers.
They do have something to teach for sure. I just think it's funny. Maybe it's just me, but I felt like the wise ones were presented to us as this far more altruistic group than the Aes Sedai. And it feels to me like they're every bit as territorial and controlling.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They have different approaches, but the end result is still the same.
And I feel like they use their knowledge of the dream world with these women that they're running into who are now in it as a way to be able to get those women to come to them and sort of subscribe to their philosophy of this world. It's almost
that makes
like
sense. I feel like that's how they were even presented from the get-go, in the fact that they seemed harsher than the Tower.
they're not saints.
No.
And then the last thing that we learn from them is Mullane says Lan will die on the day he learns Nynaeve is dead. That's crazy.
I don't know if that's prophecy so much as it's just knowing the depths of his feelings and being like, when you die.
That's how I took it.
But it is prophecy, though, too. You're right. It is that. It is an expression of love, but they don't say it that way. They're not speaking metaphorically.
That's the way I took it, though. I took it as metaphorically speaking.
Oh, I don't. I'm taking
it as well.
I'm taking it literally. We don't anticipate Nynaeve dying anytime soon, do we?
Who knows?
No.
Moiraine's
I mean, that's
the one
almost
that's going to die soon.
Yeah.
that's almost splitting hairs, because as of now, do you think Lan would die if Nynaeve died when Lan is still tethered to Moiraine?
No, but I would have said that not because of anything involving Moiraine, except for the fact that I just didn't know the depths of his affection for Nynaeve. I guess now I do.
Oh, I have. I think we all have, haven't we?
I mean, yes, I think we would all say that they were in love, but you can be in love with somebody.
It's
and
hard
they
to
can
say with
die and
Lan.
you
Not
can
if you're a
move
stone
on.
wall.
Well, that's just it. It's hard to say with Lan because we just don't know with that guy.
Right.
We know there's
Yeah.
a big enough crack in his armor where he gave Nynaeve his ring. That's a huge thing.
Which
Yeah.
is a huge thing
Well,
for
and
this guy.
Moiraine is constantly concerned about what that relationship is doing to his resolve.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe,
think the evidence that we've been shown, we've just heard over and over again that he has this war that he won't give up, but yet he's still giving his heart over to this other woman,
yeah.
which is crazy. So he must be gabonk.
So
for her.
the last thing that I wanted to bring up here in Dreams is Egwene presents that drink to
The cat.
Nynaeve, which is Catfern and
Maven's
Maven's Leaf. Shouldn't Nynaeve just have drank that and gotten it over with? She doesn't. She won't drink it. She doesn't drink it. But after the interaction, she keeps trying to figure out why she allowed Egwene to have the upper hand, why she had hand in that relationship now. And she keeps concluding it's because she has this sense of guilt. If she had just drank this stuff and taken her punishment, she could have alleviated that sense of guilt and had all of this behind her.
Yeah, but she's stubborn.
I do feel like
We're seeing a progression with
Yep,
her.
I think so, yeah. And she seemed to want to admit this. She just couldn't get past that last
I think that
little bit.
despite Egwene's duplicitous nature with this, with
With this,
with
right.
this specific thing,
yeah.
not really revealing the fact that she's not supposed to be there either.
Yeah, she feels really, really guilty.
We're seeing there's things going on with Egwene's character.
Well, there's things going on specifically in this interaction, too, that she handles very well. She doesn't lose control of her emotions.
No.
And she's able to just have the interaction and the confrontation while maintaining her cool.
We've got two people, one who's always been in charge, the other one, and now we've got the roles have reversed.
Right. And a lot of that has to do with her ability to keep control of herself during the interaction.
Right.
So that wraps up in Dreams. Let's get into a little director's cut here. So we've been talking for a while now about the fact that Moiraine is relinquishing control. And this had me thinking, like, up to this point, Moiraine's been the director of this story of Rand. She's been directing him where to go and why to go there and what to do. And she's been in control of this story. And now Rand is taking the lead and is in the director's chair of his own story. And there have been plenty of instances where a director gets fired and a movie gets taken over by another director and the movie totally changes. And then production company has to figure out whatever. But what do we think are going to be some of the differences in this story now that Rand is directing it as opposed to what Moiraine has been doing up to this point?
I think it's heading for a train wreck.
In what ways?
I don't know. I've got this impending sense of doom. Rand seems so reliant upon the prophecy and making prophecy happen and all that sort of thing. I feel like he's just kind of blindsided to a lot of things and it's just going to end up in a train wreck. And I don't know what that is, but the train's going to derail somehow. Whereas before, I feel like we had a little bit better conductor in Moiraine.
Why do you think Moraine is a better conductor? Because she just had more history with it?
I think she's more educated. She knows more about the world. She knows more about the nations. She knows more about
Yeah, she just has a lot
intrigue
more
and-
knowled. I
yeah.
mean, she had
She
a
had more
lot
time with it.
Yes, she understands politics. She understands how the different nations relate with each other. She understands how they relate to the prophecies. Because remember, there are varying feelings amongst the nations just about the Dragon Reborn. Some people out in the sticks believe that he's actually the same thing as Shea-Tan.
I honestly think Rand is going to get more powerful, maybe more sure of himself, and the fact that he doesn't necessarily need her.
The less she's trying to dominate him, the more he's willing to have her around.
But-
This seems to me to be heading in a more violent direction. Rand,
Yeah, like I said, it's a train wreck.
Rand seems to be, in his aggression and audacity, to be heading toward more violent ends than what Moiraine would have led him toward. She seemed to be
Sure.
And maybe that
That's-
has to
yeah,
happen. I don't know.
That's what I think. I think that has to happen.
she seemed to be guiding him through some really dangerous waters, very, very sophisticatedly.
With diplomacy, yeah.
And he now seems to be just
He's like, I got the
he's
Aiel.
ramming into walls head on and just tackling stuff with a dull knife rather than the fine knife that Moiraine was using.
Well, it's like it's like him taking the Aiel over the Dragon Wall. That's going to fix everything because I got power and I'm the Dragon Reborn. It's all going to fall in line.
Well,
he's
doesn't-
kind of getting very cavalier about it.
His thought isn't I'm the Dragon Reborn. His thought is I have this power to coalesce all these nations using sort of like a police state, which you're right, in and of itself is bad enough. But when it's not actually a police state, which means you have a domestic force patrolling people, he's bringing a foreign invasion. Now, granted, his hand was forced because of the Shaido. I mean, they're going to go in and attack regardless. So they're going to sort of preemptively cause the problem that we're concerned about him causing. But you're not going to gather people behind you by bringing in a foreign invasion. Like that's obviously not going to work. And
It's a declaration of war.
everybody is telling him this is a bad idea.
So what do you think that Moraine's advice would be to be at this
She's
point?
telling him not to do this.
That's
Well, sure.
pretty clear
So
advice.
to do what else?
Probably through courier to let people know, hey, I'm backed by the Aiel now. Let's have a coalition and get these minds together. I am the Dragon Reborn. Tarmin Gaiden is coming. The prophecies are being fulfilled.
No one would believe that. Everyone would be on the offensive and attack.
Everyone who? We've got splintering
The rest of-
nations left and right.
The only people that he could probably gather under that would be the people that Masima
That he has.
No. Think
Yes.
about this. He's got Tyr. He's now got Karien. He's gonna.
Kinda
He's,
has
he's
Tyr.
pretty. He's
Yeah,
pretty.
he could use Tyr.
He's pretty
don't-
tied to Andor. So
That's
Not
we
really.
think well you have to take into effect that no one besides we the gentle reader, Rand now knows that Andor is controlled by a Forsaken.
But what you're saying is so.
But he's tied to him through Elaine.
Tenuously. I mean, if you're saying it would be reasonable for him to reach out, which it might be, they probably would not respond, so he wouldn't have them.
Right. Well, he has Tyr and he's got Karien also.
I don't know.
He sent
that
his people there.
right, but
There's no king. He's basically like a regent
Right.
in charge.
he would have Tyr, and Tyr would probably be enough to fight the Shaido. They might be able to meet them as they come through the Jengai Pass and just kill
I think
them
it's
as
less
they-
about fighting the shadow, more to let the rest of the nations know. Here's who I am. Here's what's coming at you. You can fight these Aiel by yourself, or you can fight them with me.
It's a plausible option, and it might be one that Moiraine would proffer.
Oh, I definitely see it being an option. I don't see it working.
I'm just saying that's
Unfortunately.
something she might speculate.
Rand is probably engaged in another idea that wouldn't work. So pick your two options. The one
No, I mean,
the other option that wouldn't
He's
work
engaged
is
in an option that is an awful option of war.
well, it's not just an awful option of war. It is an option that very well could lead to the
Totalitarianism.
entire group that he's trying to get behind him to rejecting him totally. Not going to win hearts and minds.
except for the Aiel, because they like
Isn't
to fight
that who
people.
he's concerned about? Is just the Aiel right now?
No,
No,
the whole
remember the Aiel think that he's not concerned enough about them.
the whole purpose of this mission is to get the entirety of Westland behind him.
Yes, through
Because he
using
wants to
the
unite.
Aiel.
He wants to unite everybody to fight the Dark One, because it's going to take all of them.
I see this movie under Moiraine being House of Cards. I see this movie under Rand being
Last of the
Endgame.
Mohicans.
All right. Who was your Copland of the week? Adam.
Oh, mine was Egwene.
Egwene.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
she's all
Hoi polloi.
berating Nynaeve for being in the dream world and not understanding what's going on and lying, and yet she's doing the same thing.
She is deceitful for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In her typical Egwene way, she feels bad about it once it's over, but she did it.
Honestly, you're gonna bring these little demon characters on your friend who's clawing at her
Did she learn?
and tearing her clothes off of.
She learned.
Why?
She learned from the best.
Yeah.
She learned how to
All
do that
she's-
from the wise
All
one.
she's doing is, oh, this is what was done to me, so I suppose I should do it to you. Cool.
But did it
No,
work?
no,
Hollywood.
no. It's,
But
no.
did it work?
Well, that doesn't matter. It's there are plenty of
Machiavellian, I
awful
suppose,
ways
but-
to do things. It doesn't.
It
make
is
them
Machiavelli.
right.
I don't know if Nynaeve is going to learn from that. Did Egwene? No. She's doing the same
That's true.
thing.
All we know now, Nynaeve is going to be spitting
No,
out
but-
her own demons in the dream world.
See,
and
that's not
dream world.
true.
Yes, that's what's going to
Egwene
happen.
did
She's
learn.
going to be like, oh, Elaine, you're here too? I understand that Egwene learned how to use what was done to her. She's still going into the world of dreams and she shouldn't be there on her own. So what did she learn?
She behaves badly because she's reacting out of fear. She's afraid she's going to get caught. She's afraid that Nynaeve is going to recognize that she's doing something she's not supposed to be. So she's reeling, and so she behaves not totally rationally. She's not thinking so much as just reacting. I hope.
Sure.
I hope she's really not this malicious. My Copland of the week was Moghedien. Even though we don't
Yep.
like what she did to Leandrin,
Right
she's
on
I
the
still-
do
nose.
like what she did to Leon.
well, right. Even though we do think that Leandrin got her comeuppance, Moghedien is still a pretty wicked little creature here running about in this world. First of all, she told all these women, I don't care whatever any other Forsaken have told you, any of my peers, you're following me because I'm here and in your face.
That seems carte blanche with every single
Yes.
Forsaken.
This is the way that the Forsaken work, which is one of the reasons why there's almost no way that they can be successful, because they each think that them in and of themselves is enough to defeat the Dragon Reborn, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Except this 2x2 thing lately.
But you were right. I mean, even that we distrust.
They're only as strong as their weakest link, and they're all the
They're-
weakest link.
well, they're
because they
only-
don't trust each other.
They're only as strong as like their whatever the victory is that they have planned between the two of them. Once that victory occurs, then it's all.
Well,
then
they all
it's
want to be the
every
one in
man
charge
for
once the Dark
themselves
One
again.
returns. So yeah,
That's what the
gets-
thing is. They all want to be in charge, or they're promised these great glories.
right.
And they just want their glories. They want to be the one in charge.
Yes, they don't want to share.
Dave, who's your Copland of the week?
Mine is Val and Luca.
But
the
he has
man
such
with
a
the well-turned
well-turned leg.
leg.
Yeah, much as I like him throwing the silver coin back at Nynaeve because she should have a silver coin
Yes.
thrown back at her, he's greasy. He's an oily man, and ugh.
And he wears a cape, so he's got that going
See,
against him.
I would count that in his his pro column, but yeah, I don't know, just something about the guy. I don't.
Yeah.
Snake oil salesman.
Well, he's always hitting on Egwene. He's a seedy character.
But he has such a fine menagerie.
and I
Right, he does.
I feel like we're about to get a heavy dose of him.
yeah, I'm in
Yeah,
agreement
probably.
there.
It's going to go down like castor
He's probably
oil.
going to get seedier and seedier.
Yeah,
and not good seeds
no.
Ugh.
like shake. All right, who leveled up for you, Adam?
Egwene.
Egwene, because
Yeah,
she can.
I'm doing it
'cause
this
she-
week. I'm doing it again. I'm having her
Oops.
level up and level down in the
You
same
did
week.
it again.
Yeah, more like poops. You did it again.
And
No.
and why?
So why? Yeah,
She did learn how to do all this stuff, and she is getting stronger and stronger and able to control her world. So she is leveled up in a form of power and control of the dream world.
Who leveled up for me was her foe, Nynaeve, who came really, really close and has, sort of identified the fact that she shouldn't have lied to her friend. and is trying to figure out some way to come clean with it, and also recognize that this moral problem that she's caused for herself has also caused her to lose the moral authority in the relationship, which has led to a lack of, I won't say leadership. I don't know that any of them are leading each other, but it's certainly led to a lack of control in the relationship, which she thought she had. I don't
can
know
never
that she
figure
ever
out with
had
these
it.
people, like in general, how much their character change towards the better happens because of like screwing up and then getting caught screwing up, so they have to change as opposed to wanting to change.
That's sort of how children learn. You
Yeah.
make a mistake, you get smacked or punished in some sort of way, and you try to avoid that stimulation again, right? You
So
try
these
to
are the-
avoid that sensitivity.
These are
or
the people that
whatever.
are trying to help save this world.
Yeah, but in many ways, they're still children.
Yeah.
They definitely act like them, as we all do at some time or other. So I'm liking the growing Nynaeve here. Who leveled up for you, Dave?
It was Egwene also.
Egwene?
For the
You like
fountain.
Egwene's authority.
Knowing what I know about Nynaeve and how she responds to things, and knowing how well Egwene knows Nynaeve. I don't think the method that she chose was just some random haphazard thing. I think Egwene was very calculated in what she did there. And remember, these two also talked about their testings and that sort of stuff. So
That makes it worse, actually, that it
No,
was
but-
calculated.
if you know your friend well enough,
Once again, right, yeah.
right,
I
we just
get
have
that.
a different ideology about saving someone's life.
Whoa, well,
That's what this
I mean,
is. This is saving someone.
man,
No, there's
yeah.
no two ways about it. Saving someone's life in the dream
if
world.
you can tell yourself that that's what you're doing, then really the ends does justify the mean, and you can go to just about any extreme short of killing them if you think that you've saved their life by doing it,
Well,
right?
do you think she didn't save her life by doing it? If Nynaeve does not learn these lessons and runs around willy-nilly in the
to
dream world.
define a negative is almost impossible, so I cannot say that she did not save her life. That is episode 39. Join us for episode 40 when we
Episode
cover
40.
the Fires of Heaven, chapters 19 through 24. Until then, may you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you know good hunting, young bull, and she's to give you many cubs.
Doviense Tovian again. I screwed it up, but
You
that's all right.
did.
I got all mush mouth.
Dovienda Satoya.
Tovias again.